No, I don't normally read that much, because
Yes,
there was a problem there.
yes, sir. Go
We're
ahead.
live. Um,
Thank you.
we're
We'll
live,
say
Mr. Chairman. I
we'll
yield,
say a
sir.
pleasant. Yes, sir. Thank you, Leonard. I want to say a pleasant good night and good day to other part of the world for those who will be viewing us. Because Leonard, we are being viewed around the world.
Yes, sir.
So um, I want to say, welcome to our Belizean Affairs show number 417.
Okay.
Thank you,
God
Leonard,
bless you.
for being steadfast. You know, sit sit and we converse and we share our concern and give our opinion and give solutions. As to the way you see our country going and you know um your interest in your country
Yes, sir.
and interest in your people,
Yeah, man.
because in the nation of Belize, you have a lot of our people that are suffering for various reasons. We have a lot of poverty and poor and less fortunate, and these are the people that we advocate for. We are concerned about our farmers, about our hardworking Belizeans. You know, um, you know, we talk about their welfare. Leonard, a lot of times,
Yes,
we
sir.
talk about how things should be better for them. But I'm glad that we are able, Leonard, to sit and discuss and pile out the ills and the good and the bad. Um, that the Almighty give us that wisdom and that fortitude and for the interests, for other people, that who think that we sit here, Leonard, and we get a stipend from anywhere or being paid to say what we say and do what we do. No, we do not. We do this as a service service to our Belizean people and nation. And again, Leonard, I want to thank you for when we started this program, you brought up that Constitutional Friday, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
more so, it impacted when these jackals wanted, came up with that idea to change our constitution. Because
We're holding them at bay currently, sir.
yes, sir, right, and you and I know, and most Belizeans know that a lot of us are not educated in our constitution, right? Educated
Sir.
in our constitution. So I just hope that that so far whatever you had produced in the interest for the Belizean people, that they get a hold of it and learn something and understand something and see where they have been taken for a ride, see
Amen.
where the injustice is based on the things that our leaders does to us in terms of not in line with our constitution that is saying they are not supposed to do what they are doing to us. They should not be doing it. So, and it's clearly outlined to what they should. I use the word not, and I'm using the word should be doing for the Belizean people,
Amen.
right? They should uphold the Constitution because that's the law of the land.
Amen.
They should not take away, derogate, or misuse nor abuse the
I'll, I'll
Constitution.
I'll go ahead and do the prayer first, Mr. Chairman, and then I'll do the reading.
So yes,
And
sir.
guess what happened just now?
Yes, sir.
Um, as I opened the Bible, I opened it to the exact page where uh,
We
it
talk about
was Proverbs 7. You said, right?
no. I said 27.
Oh. I was wondering because I woke up at Proverbs 7, and I was
Well,
saying,
go
I think
ahead.
I
Go
got to
ahead.
give
Do.
you. No, I was saying I have to give you that news because that's kind of strange. In my mind, I was thinking of 7, and I woke up. It
No,
shouldn't
go ahead.
normally be like
Seven.
that, you know. But no.
Seven.
I,
Is good.
I was going to do the one that you had. I, it was my mistake. I thought I was being cute by just getting a chance to open it and look at
Anyway,
the exact thing, you know.
Leonard, we should be joined by our Monday night chairman, Mr. Gregory Brackett, and then by Mr. Gregory Morrison.
All
But in the
right.
interest of time, we will continue and we proceed with our show. And we always start with a reading, sorry, with a prayer, followed by a reading. So, Leonard, can you please do the reading and then, I mean, the prayer and then a reading for us tonight, please, Leonard? Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'll just bow my head. I have something on in the background. Okay. Take care of some housekeeping. I'm sorry about that, sir. I had something in the background there, and I
Oh, sorry.
just realized. Okay, I'll just go ahead and that's it. Divine loving Father, thou who art the creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves, asking that thou would continue to have mercy upon us. We pray that thou mayest bless our family members, friends, and loved ones wherever they are. Do knowest them by name and number. Do knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts, loving Father. We pray that thou would accept the words of our mouth and the meditation of our mind and the contriteness of our heart in thy presence. We pray that thou mayest bless those people who are in war zones. We pray that thou mayest bless those people who are in earthquake zones and tornadoes and flooding and earthquakes and all manner of pestilence on the face of this earth. We pray that thou mayest bless those who have need of food and clothes and shelter. Please be merciful unto them, loving Father. And we pray that thou mayest grant us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, endurance, perseverance, and the fortitude necessary to speak truth to power when need be. We pray that thou mayest bless this show and whatever we have to say may it accrue to the benefit of our people and country of Belize. We ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Leonard. Can you
Uh,
lead us in a reading, please? Thank
So
you.
we'll do 27 or 7. Which one?
Anyone that you care to.
Okay, so I'll proceed and do the 7 since I already open
Yes,
up
sir.
at that location. Uh, Proverbs chapter 7, verses starting at verse 1, it says, my son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live, and my laws as the apple of thine eye. Bind them upon thy fingers, write them upon the tables of thine heart. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy king's woman, that they may keep thee from the strange woman, from the stranger which fluttereth with her words. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and behold, among the simple ones I, dis- I discern among the youths a young man void of understanding. So that's the end of our reading for tonight. And we do pray that the good Lord is going to give us enough wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we may be able to do justice tonight with our particular program. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard.
You're welcome, sir.
You know, I like to say to my Belizean people um, that we are about to embark again in the hurricane season. Not too long from now, June to November.
Mm-hmm.
Again, please prepare yourself and be mindful of what can happen. Um, we have been blessed so far. We have been saved so far based on trajectory of hurricanes coming this way, and suddenly they shift to another direction, and we've been seeing that happening happening for some time now. So don't give up, and say, well, it's not going to happen. Just try to prepare yourself. And we are at 2026, and we see that the past and present governments and leaders we have no intention of building proper hurricane shelters, because Belize is prone to hurricane. I cannot say tornado shelter or tsunami shelter or any kind of other shelter. I could say that Belize is known, you know, prone to hurricane every year, June to November, and we see the impact, my people, that it had done to us in the past. Um, it could happen worse in the future. So just be mindful, because the system is not going to take care of you and do what they should do for the people. If they wanted to do something, they would have done that long time ago. So just prepare yourself and secure yourself, and loved ones, and your property. When that time comes, you're way ahead of the game. So that's what I wanted to say. And again, for the outside world, we pray that the war that has been going on 20 something days now between Israel and his neighbors, we pray that it ceases, because innocent people are being killed. And I say again, if all these leaders that hates each other, they should just meet up at a designated area with some bomb in their hands and blow themselves up, themselves and their families, right? And who care to go along with them, but leave the general population out of it. You leave the innocent people out of it, right? So that's what I wanted to say on that, right? Now in Belize, Leonard, you see that they having a budget scramble, and then they have an issue with the war and importation, and they had already spiked the fuel that is, people need that to live and to move around. They spiked the prices up already on fuel that's not even here
Mm-hmm.
yet, but the fuel that is in the ground already pumping out to the people from the loss before the war. you know you see the
Raise the
effect.
price again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then now the man had said, well, he was thinking about raising the price again. Well, we see it now that the price of diesel, went up at $2.50. Um,
And that's a big raise.
that's a big raise.
Because it will have to be
And
raised again, Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir. And if he had done that, and we demand the fuel invoice to see if that price relates to the shipment after the war. If that price relates to the shipment after the war, we would like to see that, right? And then, my people, I like to say this is that, it doesn't end there, because this is just a good reason for them now to keep raising the price of fuel. Very good reason. And then there are just a handful of jackals, criminals that's going to benefit on that. A handful. Then Leonard, we talked about that vessel loaded with fuel, diesel, and we had said this, Leonard. I think I remember, 2 shows ago, I have said that the the invoice that they think that the people think that will come to them as for the public, that invoice will disappear, right? Then you will not know who are the names on that invoice that they brought in because they can't find it, right? So they think that everybody, you know, is stupid or a fool. And then you hear the man says, well, he blames the Department of Environment because they can't, for some reason they can't find this invoice and they don't know who to charge but then I asked, I said, who is not the first time that had happened down south.
No.
And who runs the Department of Environment? Where does this handful of people that was selected and put there, where do they get their orders from? And I leave it like that, right? And this very same man says that they are bad, they shouldn't do that and this and that, and maybe he'll fire some of them. I don't know. Right?
Mr. Chairman, on that same point about the fuel vehicle, the information that I read up on that is that apparently this ship had done these kind of transactions before, but they had gone through, according to what is being said now, they had done everything right then, before. Why is it that they didn't do it right now is the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But,
And Leonard, yes, sir, based on that now, there were some investigation done, and there is something on the social media and all that about a document they found with a certain name.
Mm-hmm.
And that name sounds like a Chinese man name. Plain and simple, blood Creole, a Chinese man name. Sounds like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it also linked to a company. That's the one that you said, Leonard, that those invoice was done right. Right?
It's not the first time that ship brought fuel. So why didn't they have their documents in order? Or were they trying to just pull a fast one? Because we need the treasury, we need the money to the treasury. So on that basis alone, they should lock down some of them. But if they knew to do it right the first time and they're trying to get smart now, it means that it's a deliberate intent to defraud.
Exactly.
So I don't mind and go to jail.
Exactly. So I would like what his fuel czar have to say. His cousin that he appoint as the fuel czar, and he said he's not getting paid. I think Jules, my brother, Chua Medium, I asked you to go and interview that man, that fuel czar, right? Relative of Johnny Briseño. Interview him, ask him if he know anything about that fuel transaction down in the south. My brother, I ask you to please do that, right? And give the result to the Belizean people and the world. Thank you, my brother. To our medium, Leonard, I'm begging the man to, because Jules have done some very good investigative, stuff, Leonard, right?
The man is good at his craft.
Yes, sir. And seeing that he get bold all of a sudden, he is not afraid to tell them the truth. He does not hide the truth anymore or doctor it up anymore. He bring it on the table. Mm-hmm. And I think he's following us, Leonard. I think so. He don't want to say it and give us credit to that yeah, well, at the some of the things they rub off for me, right?
Yeah. I know I hear that too loudly, because he starts calling for you some of the things where he produce, So yes, it's like a trade-off,
Yes, fair exchange, no robbery. Right. But anyway, these are the things that's going on, Leonard. The budget speech there, and most Belizeans are in tune to it, and we see the pettiness and the things that they want to take credit for that is not happening. This big amount of money, yeah, but the big amount of money for education is for X, Y, and Z, and free uniform, and free food, and free shoes, and free tennis, and free bus ride, and all that good stuff, right? And because that's what the Belizean people want to hear, but in essence, it's only word as per previous budget. Those are the same item that was in it in previous. Free Wi-Fi and free laptop and free this and free that, right? And these parents that do not send their children to school will be in big trouble. That cannot pay whatever will be in big trouble because this man says, Fonseca says, there's no reason why that parents should not send their children, their child to school
Mr.
because it's
Chairman,
all free.
they're going to the House pretty soon and put that into law so they could penalize them parents where you talk about
Yes,
not get them kids at school. They
yes,
make one law mandatory.
yes,
You watch
right.
it. I'm not kidding. You watch
No,
it.
no, no, no. They did it
That's
with
how they operate. That's
with
how they operate.
the grandparents now are held liable,
Yeah.
right? Then they have to take care of their grandchildren. If their parents are no more, they have to take it because it's a law. They pass a law for that,
Whatever
right?
whatever comes out of their mouth is a law of the day.
Yes, yes. So you see now,
Bunch of
on this
scoundrels.
budget now, for me, it's an election budget because each one of them that stands up there and represent a department that gets that money, they
Mm-hmm.
are grandstanding that and they itemize all the good things that's going to happen, right? And the blue economy is right on track, and this economy is right on track, and streets and everything will and everybody will be happy, right? And vote for me again because that's what it is,
And
right?
then call another election before they do before they do it and promise you that they may do it, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
And promise you that they may do the election. Um, the what oh man, I have draw blank. But if we get the list back together, man, we are student for
or
the last time.
redistricting,
Yeah.
redistricting.
The man say, man, do it.
Oh yes,
And this year we done almost half a year already.
yes,
I not start yet. So when the next case start, they want depend. They say, well, the thing they in a court, so you can't do nothing about it.
yes, sir. This man from his own mouth and his big attorney man, Mr. Courtney from 2019, he says it's gonna be guys needed and it's gonna be done because it's easy to do. Right? So we are 2026, right? I'm done here.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard, there was a big victory for the Mr. Enriquez
And Mr.
that
Ram
took the
Logan.
and Mr. Ram Logan, that episode there with him and the Mr. Handora guy,
Mm-hmm.
the judge, right? We all saw how that played out, and they didn't take that easy. They took it to the CCJ,
Good.
and you know our case is still we're supposed to be right behind that.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of doing redistricting, right? I am glad that the court um, is doing the right thing for the Belizean people. And through our medium, I want to thank Mr. Ram Logan for he's not a Belizean,
Mm-hmm.
right?
But he's looking after
Um,
our interest more than we local
yes, sir.
politicians then.
And for the public out there that we had asked for some help in our case, the districting case,
Mm-hmm.
7:30 of 2024 to Leonard, you watch everything unfold. We asked for help from attorneys, Belizean attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
and the only person that had stood up and assist us was Miss Sharon Pitts, right? And then Mr.
And Mr.
Arrington, the
Uh-huh.
Hubert Arrington, you know, right, a little. But Miss Pitts stand up, and she had helped us, gratefully, right? And we hats off for her, right? And then Mr. Ram Logan, well, it's with public knowledge, agrees to take up the cause with us also,
Mm-hmm.
right? And no other Belizean attorney, except for the name that I called, had offered to help us, right? We saw how that played out. So our matter should be heard, you know, shortly. I have, great faith. But I also wonder, Leonard, that's something that I said it will happen, that if it will be done before these jackals call the next illegal election in the country of Belize,
They're going to
right?
start again, sir. That's the name of their game and how they play the process, you know?
Yes, and for what? Why? Um, who are they? Who these people are punishing? They're punishing the Belizean people, right? Um, and it's not something, Leonard, that we are asking them to do that they shouldn't do. You know, you knows the Constitution very well, right? The Constitution demand, right, that they do it, right? And that's why I say that
Uh,
how these people bastardize our Constitution, right?
and they agree with the judge that they were in default, and they asked the judge to give them permission to go and remedy. And as of today, so many years after, they still haven't remedied it, and the judge decided to kick out the case, which is why currently the resolution from the higher court, from the CCJ, puts your suit, the prior suit that came before yours, and the one with Mr. Enriquez and Mr. Logan, all those suits fall on the same level. They are constitutional cases that has to be answered constitutionally, not brushed aside, as these jackal suburban judges have been doing in our local jurisdiction. And we kept complaining and pointing it out and saying it in exactly the same words. We haven't been mincing words when we talk about the self-impeached judges that lie on the stand and find themselves, contradicting their own statements. You know, we find them colluding among themselves and colluding with the other attorneys then to figure out how to throw the cases. You know, those kind of things shouldn't be happening at our judiciary level, because that's a main branch of our government that should be independent. But it can't be independent if they are being hired to come and do a job on behalf of the government, and the government wants to violate the constitution, and they don't want to rule against the government, and they're required to rule by law and according to the constitution. But we'll get into it a little bit more deeper, I guess. So
Also, that's something that's very um germane to what's really going on. I mean, these people thrived in politics and thrived in the electioneering. They thrive in buying votes. They try and thrive in doing all forms of illegalities when it comes to an election,
and they know that
right?
it is
And
illegal, and they still do it.
you see, so my thing is that they want to brush that aside because that's what makes them, ignoring the Constitution, that they should do with the Shukin, make the country equal or near as equal, make the constituencies equal or near as equal, they know if they go about doing that, things might not play out well for them. So they enjoy having it, and they're gonna push off the anything has to do with the court that will force them to do it. They try all kinds of things, right? So that the court brush off whoever brings the matter to the court,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they know if that constitutionally, if and it brings me to notice why these past and present government, the UDP and the PUP, just insist of importing these judges that has no knowledge of our constitution, right? No knowledge, because they're not from here. How the hell they gonna come and unless if they went to school for a whole year and read up on our on the Belize constitution. Only that they study, cause then they come, they know it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they go on, they bring these judges, right? And they have a reason why they do it, because they know that the judges that they are importing have no knowledge of our constitution, but they know how to use, these leaders know how to use the constitution and wrap around their fingers to their advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is it just me? I think that some of these attorneys for the PUP and the UDP, these top notch, well, smart guys, and they are gods, they have a major role in dictating to some of these imported judges. I'm not saying that it happens, but it is my belief. That's the way how I feel. I'm not saying that they are doing it, right? Dictate to them, because this is a UDP party, and we have a UDP judges that they import. So these top-notch attorney, these smart guys, dictate to these guys how to run this courtroom. That's how I see that, and I don't want to welcome Mr. Gregory Morrison. Welcome, my brother.
Good night, Mr.
Good evening.
Morrison.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm sorry I'm joining so late.
That's all right, sir.
Oh well, I pass the show to you there, Mr. Morrison.
Okay, thank you. Um, well, I was just listening to what you were saying a little bit there, and we do have concern about how government run things, and we need to just stay alert on them in terms of keeping them, letting them know that we as the people, the owners actually of this country and this government, are actively involved in the what's going on. And if we do that, they will have to step it up. That's what I see. And but we often fail to be involved. People really like, I think, to just turn things over and believe that it will be run properly and the right things will be done, the right decisions will be done to involve their family and their lives. But it doesn't happen that way. We have to stay actively engaged to make sure that things are involved. We call it a representative democracy for a reason. It
Mm-hmm.
means that they're representing us, but in order for them to fully represent us, we have to stay engaged with them, either on a personal level or in a general level that allows us to have input and feedback from them, and not just turn it over to them in a way that they believe they are the masters and bosses of everything, and that we, the people, are on a second rail, and they're not accountable to us. So that's how I see generally where we the people fail. And it's not just here in Belize, but it's in people generally. People generally believe that we elect leaders and that they will do and fix everything for us, for them and for us. And that's not the case. In areas where democracy is and where it works best is where the people find active engagement. some governments and some systems allow this to be more initiated. They have ways of having constant feedback from the people, and they value those engagement. In Belize, they seem to not be so much for it, and when people get involved, they do everything to discourage it because they are on an agenda that doesn't always have the best interests of the citizenry. And for a most part, and for a greater part, they think of most of the people as ignorant, and they have superior knowledge and awareness of what's going on, and want to be able to dictate to the people what it is that they should just accept. And that's where the big failure is, because in a democracy, it has to be that level of engagement, but it also calls upon the citizenry to be informed so that they too can have that active participation. So that's how I see it, Mr. Wade, and I yield back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Thank you. Leonard,
Yes, sir.
while we're on the judiciary and the redistricting situation that study they put on pause and try to forget it. And the latest ruling, Leonard, on the CCJ case with Mr. Enriquez.
Okay. Um, Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In regard to Mr. Enriquez's case, okay, let's clarify something up front. Okay, there are three different cases we're talking about. One by Mr. Enriquez and Mr. Logan is, dealing with those particular matters in that case. One with you and the other people that joined you in the last case that still is not completely settled, and a previous case that came before you and your team got on board, a case which, for all intents and purposes, the judge had brushed aside under false pretext, all because judges are authorized to make a ruling. And whether their ruling is right or wrong is a matter for the court above their level. So that if a judge makes a wrong ruling or a ruling that somebody is not in agreement with, they can take that matter up to a higher level and hope that the higher level judges will be able to see through the incorrect ruling or the abuse of power and then make a different ruling. So I'll explain. In the case of Mr. Logan's case, their case was brushed aside and not dealt with the constitutional merits of the case because of technicalities that particular judge wanted to hide behind. That judge was Judge Honduras, who himself got on the bench while he was responsible for the Mr. Enriquez case and Mr. Logan's case, and lied during the case that he had not said what he ended up getting proved to himself that he had said in his own words. That is that he went and asked the previous judge of the case that you guys had been dealing with, one of the previous scenario, Judge Neby is her name. Judge Honduras went and asked Judge Neby. He got off of the bench where he was sitting in the case, went into his side room, his vestibule, called Judge Neby, and was soliciting information from Judge Neby as to how Judge Neby had disposed with one of the previous cases. And if her disposition of those cases didn't render those cases mute, so that you, Mr. Wade, could not have had the right under the estoppel rules of court cases that would have blocked you from being able to pursue the same court case. When Judge Neby herself, in the first of the three cases, had said to the people that she was throwing out their case that somebody else could bring that same case But for all intents and purposes, the people that had brought the first case had entered into a tumbling agreement resolution of their case, and therefore she, Judge Navy, could not help them to resolve the lack that had occurred, because then she classified the case as having a major fault. The point is that that was a constitutionally derivated case, and she should have answered and clarified the constitutionality that was brought for that case, and she failed to do so by hiding behind the idea of the tumbling agreement, when in fact she still maintained jurisdiction of that case. And when she disposed of that case without having dealt with the constitutional merits of the case, she was, for all intents and purposes, trying to silence the plaintiff in that case, because they knew that the plaintiff in that case was not moneyed people. They were not going to be able to afford to go beyond Judge Naby's decision, because it would have required them then to go to the appellate court level, which would have cost them money that they couldn't come up with. They barely came up with the money to do the initial case. And so they put those people in a bind. And because those people couldn't go to the other level above to get vindication, your team, Mr. Wade, took up the matter as Judge Naby had stipulated in her declaration. And Judge Honduras wanted to kick out your case based on Judge Naby's previous decision. That is to say, the case was stopped. There was an estoppel in the case. It was barred. It was blocked. You could not, and Judge Naby turned around and told Judge Honduras in that conversation on the phone that, yes, she had made certain rulings, but that if Mr. Courtney, who she called by name in that conversation on the record, on the tape, by the way, because all of what I'm saying came off of the tape, okay? He self-impeached. The Judge Honduras self-impeached by going and colluding with another judge to try and help him figure out how to dispose of these people's case, instead of him studying the case that was presented to him on both sides and rule according to law, which is what was required of him. He violated his judiciary ethics. And then Mr. Romlogan took their part of the case and complained to the Judiciary Commission and the Chief Justice for them to sanction Mr. Romlogan. Then Mr. Romlogan turned around and wrote up a bogus set of decision on his part, and turned around and dismissed the case, but left all that extra writing up material that he had put in there in order to cover his butt. But when Mr. Romlogan, they took the matter to the local Belize appellate court above the Supreme Court, Mr. Marla's wife was put on that court to help influence that particular decision. And the government was successful in having the appellate court rule in their favor because of subordinated scenario. And that put Mr. Romlogan them in a bind. But they didn't cease and desist. Mr. Romlogan is a senior, experienced lawyers with a lot of international legal experience under his belt. And they came up with a way to help the process where they could have gotten a hearing from the regional highest court, which is the Caribbean Court of Justice. And now what we had the other day was the ruling of the Caribbean Court of Justice to tell the Belize appellate court and the Belize Supreme Court, High Court, to review back that case and provide the proper judgment within the established laws on the stare decisis case framework. Because there's what you call stare decisis and settled law. And the Belize High Court and Supreme Court, as well as the appellate court, failed to do their job adequately or judiciously. So they were sanctioned by the
CCJ.
CCJ, and the case was returned to them to deal with it the way they should have dealt with it initially. That is not to brush aside the substantive constitutional merits of the case in lieu of a technical thing that they were trying to hide behind. So that dealt down with the Mr. Ron Logan case, but as regards to your case, Mr. Rudy Wade, and the other people that was on that sued the government, as part of your plaintiff group, they will have to go back and deal with the same substantive matter under the same direction from the CCJ, because the CCJ now has established what you'd call a stare decisis or settled law. Well, it cannot be a stare decisis or settled law, but they established the parameter. Why it can't be this? Because they did not spoke to the, they did not render a decision in terms of who win or who lose the case. They actually issued a directive to the lower courts to do what they should have done initially. That is to adjust the constitutional merits of the case and make a decision. And then, depending on who wins or lose, that matter may still go back up the channels to the different levels, to the local Belize appellate court, or the government, if the government lose, they won't want to go to the Caribbean Court of Justice, only to be told basically about the same thing. That is, the case has merits. And if they don't adjust the merits of the case and abide by the Constitution, then whatever decision is made or whatever issues come out of it is null. It's a nullity. It doesn't have constitutional merits unless they abide by the Constitution. So there's more to it. There's a lot more.
Yes, sir. Yes, but but that's where we at. Mr. Morrison. As you're aware that Mr. Enriquez got a ruling from and Mr. Ram Logan got a ruling from the CCJ. On their redistricting matter too.
Not as a final ruling, as I try to.
It's not. Yeah. Right? And then, Mr. Morrison, your take. We had discussed this redistricting issue already, but
a lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of times. But you see, it's beginning to dawn on the Belizean people now, more so now, because another election is coming, Mr. Morrison, right, in March.
And they will
stall. And this thing is in limbo, right? So I as for me, Leonard and Mr. Morrison, I would like for this matter to settle before another legal election take place. What's your take on that, Mr. Morrison?
Yeah. Thank you again, Mr. Wade. Well, you're right. We have spoken of this so many times, and what I see and what I believe to be the situation is that the failure of our courts to act lawful is just becoming very alarming. We are no longer governed by the principles of laws as the way it's adjudicated by our current set of jurists. And that is very troubling for our democracy. It's very troubling for our stated law, and it's very concerning as to what the fate of the Belizean people will be. The first instance, I believe, is that the court accepted a position that the government was in the process of redistricting, and therefore it will not make a ruling at this point on the merits of the case that Mr. Enriquez had presented, because there was some agreement that they will do redistricting. That is not sufficient enough for how a court should operate. The court should operate on the basis of when the evidence is presented, was the manner in which our election being conducted lawful? And if we don't have the proper sort of representation within the constituents, then the entire process could be unconstitutional or in fact of some fault. And that go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
Yes, sir. Before you pass, the point that I was trying to raise my hand on is in the case of Mr. Ramlogan's the thing, what was being sought as a remedy was to block the government from having the last election that they had because they still had
Yes,
enough time left on that election on
yes,
their
yes,
previous cycle up to the up to I think it was
They
October,
had like
November.
6 months. Yeah, they had
Yeah,
like 6 months to
yeah.
yes,
play
And
with.
so therefore, because the election was hurry run by the government to try and capture the situation, and because they were holding at bay the resolution to the case itself, the election happened, and therefore the wanting to have this matter rectified before the election was held, so that they can use that information for the election itself, became mute by virtue of timing, and therefore now the government afterwards decided to say to the public, yes, we're going to deal with it. We're going to do it. We knew it needed to be done from so many years before and blah, 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 blah. And we're going to do it.
Let let Mr. Morrison
I
finish
yield
up
back.
there,
I yield back.
Leonard. Yeah,
I yield
go
back.
ahead, go ahead, Mr. Morrison.
You made the point I was focusing on, Mr. Brackett.
Uh,
The
Okay.
I said the government had or the court had in fact ruled in a way that it said um, there's an agreement that the government will have will have a redistricting exercise at some point, and since that is pending, we can go ahead and have the election. But that's not how the court should rule. That was not the question asked of the complainants. The complainants had made this statement or had seek to get the government to conduct a redistricting before the election. That was
right.
what it is. And it was not that we're planning on doing one in 3 months, we're planning on doing one in 6 months. That should have been no relevance to the court. They should not have even weighed that as any with any value. The question was the election being held under the proper constitutional guidelines of
Legal.
equal
Legal.
representation within the constituent, or as equal as possible or near equal? And definitely when we have 5 to 1, 6 to 1, 7 to 1 sort of ratio, it is not proportional, it is not equal in any way, and it should
Abide by
not
the
have been
Constitution.
constitutional. And so that's the situation, and we are seeing more and more of this bullyragging of our court. Actually, in some instance, it seems like total mischief within the courts, and it is corrupting our entire legal process. That I think if we keep down this road, pretty soon our courts will mean nothing, because it is already at some stretch just dealing with the criminal justice issues, and now we are getting into these and into these constitutional issues where it seems totally inadequate of or incapable or unwilling or so corrupted and misused that it is become dysfunctional in addressing the needs. And it, it becomes very troublesome when the basic constitutional rights of the nation are not adhered to. And it is troubling when we have a government and we are supposed to have a attorney general that's supposed to represent the interests of the people more than the interests of the political parties, and he's supposed to be standing as a safeguard or as an advisor to the government when they are making
Lower your mic
decisions,
there a little bit there, Greg, please.
when they are
Yeah,
make
thank
when they are
you,
making
thank you.
when they're making decisions that is outside of the realm of being constitutional. And
Thank,
so we need to look at these and we need to make sure that we we point them out and their missteps and their fault and intentional behavior of arrogance and misuse of our laws to serve political interests.
thank
And
you.
I
So
yield back.
true. So true, Mr. Morrison. I want to welcome our next senior panelist, Mr. Gregory Brackett. He's the Monday night chairman and he's gracing us again here tonight. Welcome, my brother. Glad to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Again, it gives
Good
me
night, Greg.
good night, Mr. Brackett. Good night,
Good
Mr.
evening, sir.
Morrison.
Good evening, sir.
It gives me great pleasure to sit and discuss virtually on the platform Belizean affairs with you gentlemen. As I said previously, I repeat again, I hope that what we do will educate some of our people on what is happening with our constitution, which is built on democracy and the principles in which is supposed to protect us but is being trampled by past and present government. I go back to you, Mr. Lee.
Right, I go back to you, Greg, because that's a um matter to that we are discussing, Greg. The ruling from the CCJ and the way some of these the judges suborn themselves and how they not adhering to our constitution. And I even went we even talk about the importation of all these imported judge, which I myself guys are not I am not for that. I would like to see a Belizean run judicial system, a Belizean run judicial system. And there they go again. Not too long ago, guys, they imported like 10 or 12 more judges,
Uh,
magistrate judges.
You
They
know,
imported.
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Mr.
uh,
Brackett, Mr. Wade,
one
I
point,
don't think
Mr. Morrison, just
Go ahead,
give me a second.
Leonard. Go ahead.
Mr.
Yeah, go
Morrison,
ahead.
just give me a second.
Quickly, Leonard. Yeah,
Um,
quickly.
yeah, based on what Greg was saying earlier, right, about us trying to educate the people. The purpose why this particular platform was set up was to do exactly that. Okay, and while we started the Friday night thing about the Constitution was to deal with the lack of educational effort that the people who were getting millions of dollars from the government was not performing, and we figured we'll just help out a little bit with that. But we were trying to help the masses of the people. We weren't really, our design or intent was not to help the lawyers and people who have legal background or knowledge and capability because they know better. Some of them are just into whatever they can get and therefore they stay silent. But now we are also imploring to them, get involved, do something on behalf of the country. Okay, not only just us trying to
Amen.
educate, we're trying to impress on these are legal minds to do what they're capable of doing. And I yield back, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Go ahead before I go over to Greg. Go ahead, Mr. Morrison. Yes, sir.
I was going to say that I don't have too much of an issue with having Caribbean judges. That's part of Commonwealth and part of the CARICOM and the interchange we have, because it should allow for Belizean attorneys to also be able to practice and be participants in the legal systems of those sister Caribbean countries. So I don't have too much issue with that. The issue is our own government, our own system that's furthering and corrupting the process and forcing these judges to act in a certain manner. Probably so that if it was Belizeans, they would think twice about it because they have to live with the consequences forever. because it is theirs. Maybe so if they're Caribbean, they're just a stint of time, and whatever corruption and whatever misguided ruling they have they may not have to live under for an extended period of time. I'm not so much for just saying that they are the reasons for the corruption. The reason for the corruption is all government, all ministers furthering and and forcing this sort of ruling by belly-rigging the justice system.
Exactly. Thank
You're
you.
correct on that point,
Back to you.
Mr. Uh, one
I
second,
was
Mr.
going to
Chairman.
Greg.
Yes,
Leonard,
yes,
go ahead.
quickly. I just want to reinforce what Mr. Morrison just said just now by stipulating some exact scenario. No, you're 100% correct, Mr. Morrison, in what you stipulated there just now. But there's another little piece to it. That is that the Attorney General is responsible for his office to review the CV of these imported judges or individuals to work as judges. And they have the opportunity to pick the ones that they know have a history of ruling in a certain kind of way in the places of origin where they come from and or other places that they have actually worked. Because some of these judges they work in different jurisdictions before they come to us. But when they come to us, they come under contract. And when they come under contract, some of them have a CV or a history of ruling according to the government's wishes. That is not how all local Belizean system operates. Each different jurisdiction they have similarities, right, under the Commonwealth structure, but they also have variations based on their own individual what do you call lifestyle and patterns and jurisprudence. There's a lot of little things that come to play. I'm just saying to you, Mr. Morrison, while you're 100% correct there in what you stipulated, you have to understand that these judges are hired and their CV is reviewed in the Attorney General's office, and then the Attorney General make the recommendation of who are the most appropriate people to hire. And when these people come and they put them under discipline, and the government expect that these judges will rule according to how the government's perception is, or according to how the Attorney General's office is. There's a lot of
Yeah,
room for, but
that's
let me leave it
yeah.
alone.
Yes, sir.
Let me leave that part
Go ahead,
alone.
Greg. Back to you, Greg. I know you have some things you want to
Thank
you
you,
open.
Mr. Chairman. I firstly want to say that these judges, as well as the Belizean judges, are well knowledgeable in Commonwealth Caribbean law. If you travel to Australia, to India, the great United States, democracy is built on the British system when it comes to its constitution. So there is no reason why judges that are brought into Belize and contract should rule outside of the Constitution, because they should look to the Constitution to make rulings, and there are many of precedent cases that they could depend on.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say what is happening in Belize is when you have executive overreach and there's not the separation of powers, this is what we end up with, a gross violation of our constitution. If I can
Bastardization.
recall, I want to go and say this. During the cases that was presented by both yourself, Mr. Wade, and Mr. Enriquez, which
And
was
Papa
based
Smith.
on the Constitution, I have repeatedly said that they would try to change it into a case that is
Political.
justiciability.
Political.
and not justiciable.
Mm-hmm.
And why would they do that is they wanted it to seem as though you guys was asking a question based on election,
Politics.
and the court will not make a ruling on that. I also said when my good cousin said he's more than is willing to put a bet on it that the judges would rule in the favor of the government. I said this. I said if they do and it goes farther outside of Belize, it will be struck down because no judges can put away a constitutional matter based on technicalities.
Which is
And
what the court
so,
just ruled on
exactly, and
specifically.
so here is where we at today. The case has
We predicted it. It's on
been
record.
done and it has to go back. Now, I just want to go to a piece of tape to show what Mr. Ramlogan had said.
I have committed myself to being in this for the long haul, for justice to be in Belize. The end goal is that we want to see our electoral divisions aligned in accordance with the Constitution, and I have my eyes fixed on that. All these technicalities served as hurdles and barriers, but we keep crossing them, and we're going to move on and to see that we achieve fair electoral divisions in Belize. So I'm committed to that.
That is what Mr. Enriquez had to say. Let's hear his attorney now.
Well, it does take us closer. It's a step closer to um, our day, to have our day in court to ventilate these matters. It is a significant step closer because at the end of the day, the wisdom of the judgment from the Caribbean Court of Justice will have a radiating and illuminating effect on the substantive battle that we are about to embark upon with respect to the issue of redistricting. It is a fact and a complaint that we have that the justice system seems to be plagued by a sense of lethargy and inefficiency that is not moving as quickly as it should. So I share that concern, and I do so openly. In my respectful view, no justice system should have judgments in reserved for more than 6 months. An application should be listed within a month of being filed, and it should be determined within 3 months to 6 months of being filed. We have been waiting for 6 months now in the matter with the Belize Peace Movement.
So there you go, Mr. Chairman and gentlemen and people at home and abroad. As I stated, based on our constitution, I knew that if this went to the CCJ, they would overturn the decision. And rightfully, as I was stipulating also, the reason why government tried to implement the 13th Amendment is for the same reason they did not want to go to the higher court, which is the CCJ, because they know for a fact
They will lose.
the CCJ will call the state of emergency
Bogus.
unconstitutional. I go
Mm-hmm.
back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sum it up there, Greg, and you know, I just hope that the Belizean people are looking, and I just hope that they make their demand. My concern is that I do not want to see another illegal election. It doesn't make sense at all. And as for me, guys, I don't see why Greg and Leonard on our and Mr. Morrison, we had produced, evidence. We had played um, a tape to show how easy redistricting can be done. Easy, right? And it's there. It didn't cost the government a penny to see it, right? All they had was to open their eyes, right, and see it, how easy it is, right? Greg, played that whole um event there to see how redistricting can be done easily and quickly, step by step, and it wasn't going to cost the taxpayers, the people of Belize, nothing, right? Because it was so easy. Just all the employees in the election and boundaries, and we are already paying these people. All the legal minds that we are already paying these people. So it wasn't going to cost the taxpayers nothing much. Then it was a little bit of money, but
Goodwill.
yes,
Goodwill.
sir. And
Simple.
then we see what the venom that comes out of Johnny Briseño mouth. Oh, it's this and it's that, and you gotta have so much baby, and then it's a lengthy thing, and this person something might happen, and this one will die, and the other one will die, and the whole world will crumble. Just if don't just because he do not want to do with this chicken, right?
Just want to be
So
snobbish.
so you know, as for me, I personally I have no respect for that guy, right? Because of the things he does to the nation and the people, and the things he says, the stupid things he says, right? And brush off people just like he don't give a hoot about people. Man, we are talking about people here, right? And we are talking about a job that you should do, not maybe or we'll beg you. No, you should do it. Same goes for the UDP. They should have done that long time ago. You shouldn't have taken poor people like myself, one, and the six other. We are not handlers of the taxpayers' money. And what makes it more sad is that this man, Johnny Briseño, uses the same taxpayers' dollars to pay Mr. Courtney and all these top-notch lawyers to fight the very same taxpayers. Who does that? What kind of a fool would do something like that, right? And we are not asking this man to do something that is a rocket science or no. So the whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. How this man have poor people like myself, right? To be one of the claimant, you know, I, I do not have the taxpayers first, right? But and yet we are bad people, right? We he said, well, they are coming after me. No, that's a stupid man, right? I don't want to say much about that. I go to you, Mr. Morrison.
It was said right. Justice delayed is justice denied. That definitely is the position when we fail to act timely in terms of executing the laws and addressing the situation as Mr. Enriquez attorney had indicated. But I want to
That is their
point
intent.
something.
That's their intention.
Of course. I want to point to something a little bit more on the radar for me, and that is the constant wobbling of our leader of the opposition. She constantly, to me, drifts and does things that no leader of opposition has ever done or should ever be doing, and that is constantly publicly praising and support the position of the government party which she opposed. She did that when she dressed in nice pretty blue dress. She did it again some time ago, and then she did it most recently when she came out and said that the prime minister had contributed to some of the residents of her Albert division, and that is the responsibility of government. But when you do that type of stuff, you totally undermine any leverage you have in trying to win votes and to cast them in the position that you need to do an election. So I'm not quite sure where she is. I'm not quite sure that she's fit to be leader of the opposition. She have not shown me
And,
in any way
and
that
another
she
thing too,
deserves.
Mr. Morrison, she
Let
said
me
it's
let me
okay.
finish.
Raising the price of fuel is okay. She's okay with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Let me
well,
finish, Mr. Let me finish because I know
yes,
you're right on her
Yeah,
ticket
go
there.
ahead. Hold
Yeah,
on, Leonard. Hold on.
there are
Let
three,
Mr.
there are
Morrison
three,
finish.
there's three
Hold on,
sustaining.
Leonard.
I know.
Hold
I'm
on.
not gonna. I'm not gonna argue the point. I'm just pointing out
No,
that
no,
so
but
far
let Mr.
there's
Morrison finish, and I'll come to you.
three outstanding points. And more to come apparently.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
gonna wait.
Go ahead,
okay, okay, okay.
Mr.
Well,
Morrison.
she's to me, she's proving herself totally inadequate. First thing on the eve of her meeting, she goes on the boat with the Lord when she the same day she's supposed to address on the adequacy of the whether the BTL deal and so forth was going to be valid. So I'm just totally confused and lost, and I think she doesn't know her role, her position, and probably she should resign from the leadership of the opposition because she's not suited or adequate for that position. She
Thank
she
you.
she's way above her depths in what she's doing because she has lost her role. And it makes me come back constantly to where her origin is. She was a PUP. She was not a UDP. She
That's
has
4 points.
no.
The points are accumulating, and I may not get a chance to answer to
Okay,
No,
please
every
no,
one
no.
or
please go
two of
ahead.
them. 1 point
Please
at a
go ahead.
time.
Please
Um,
go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
about the PUPs thing, Mr. Wilson was a PUP before he became a NIP. Okay.
Everybody was a PUP
Well,
before Mr.
okay,
Brackett.
okay. So why then you are accept that
Because
it
she's
is
not
being
acting
wait,
like a
wait, wait.
UDP now.
Isn't it? Wouldn't that why I try to dispose with that as the first one because it seemed to be so easy to recognize that reality, and why is then that a focal point in regards to her wearing a blue dress or a green dress or a red dress? You cannot just wear one red because you all of we have red in a way. If we got black skin, red skin, green skin, white skin, well, there's no such thing as a white skin, anyhow. But I mean that's another thing. But
anyway,
all of us,
anyway,
all of us have red.
let's.
So get the lady one break.
Yeah,
I know there
yeah,
are some
we give
people.
her a break.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's give
There's
her
some
a
people who
break.
don't like the lady, right? She has her own faults, of which maybe I will criticize. Right?
Mr.
But
Brackett,
Okay,
wait.
what does
Leonard.
that have to do
Wait.
with performance?
That's where I was trying to go, okay? Because I think that's a salient point. 2 points outstanding now. I dealt with two of the other points and dispose of those, hopefully not
No,
being
you
repeated.
haven't, Mr. Brackett.
Well, then that means I know I get to dispose of none of them because you will always. But anyhow, let me deal with one of the points then, right? The one about going on the yacht. Why is she being criticized for going on the yacht when she was invited there? When nobody is criticizing Mr. Bisenyo and his family for being in bed with that same gentleman and giving that man hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars out of his treasury. Nobody gets up and flag Mr. Bisenyo for that, but they want to flag this lady for having dared to go on
Because she did not
that,
disclose
that's
it
that's
in
that,
the
that,
first
that, that's
instance.
disingenuous. It's very
I
disingenuous.
flagged her,
It's just
Leonard.
argumentative. It's just argumentative
I
and
flagged Briseño.
non-substantive. But I want to go to
She
the
did
main
not
point.
disclose
I
it,
want to go to
Mr.
the
Brackett.
political point about her not being qualified.
She's not qualified. She's
Wait,
not.
you
She's not
said that about
acting like
5
she's
times.
qualified.
Let me finish the answer then.
Yeah,
You said that
go
about 5
ahead.
times already.
Let's
She
hear
doesn't
your.
understand the
Go.
history of
Time
the
to go.
United Democratic
Make I
Party
answer the
and the
question.
NIP and the
I
PDL.
know there are some people, even in a UDP, we want Shine be the leader, or they want Darrell be the leader, or they want somebody else other than her to be the leader. And before she
I
was
want
robbed
somebody
of,
who will
wait,
represent
wait,
the values of
please,
the United Democratic
cut
Party.
me off. Before she was robbed of
I
her
intend
first
to.
opportunity, before
Anyway,
she was robbed of her first opportunity at the first convention she
Forget
had
the
with
first
Mr. Hyde.
opportunity.
let's
She has all the opportunity now.
let's
I'm
discuss a
Mr.
saying,
little bit
Brackett.
I'm
more
saying that
important
in my
Mr.
own
fact.
Brackett.
wisdom,
Mr.
yeah,
Brackett. Mr. Brackett.
in my own wisdom, I had picked the lady to have been the person that they should have turned the party over from the time when they went
Well,
and cheat her out of her convention.
But now
You
she
give
has
her
it as
Leonard, that,
challenge.
you know, and Mr. Morrison, I personally,
So
I
I
don't
will
want to
defend.
discuss
Gentlemen,
about that.
again, I
I
want
will
to ask the
defend.
question.
Yes, but I
What
will
does
defend.
that have to do with
I will defend.
performance? Because you guys are not making sense. What does that
No,
have to do with
because
performance?
She's
I
not
may not be
performing,
making sense because my point
Mr.
is not getting
Brackett. Both
across
Mr.
because I'm being
Brackett. She's
yelled
not
over.
performing currently. She's failing to perform. She's failing her
That's
first
your
goal
opinion.
and
You're entitled to it.
responsibility.
My
She's
I am
opinion
not.
failing
as the
her first.
expert,
Gentlemen,
She's
my
failing her
opinion
gentlemen,
as the
first
expert
can
responsibility.
we
needs to be
can
given
we
some
not
credence
speak
and
over
attention
one
too.
another
I'm
before we
saying
move on? Because
Greg, you have
I am the
anything there
expert when it comes to the
on
UDP
the
yes,
NHI
Mr.
position in terms of
Chairman.
on the
who is
NHI
right for the
clip
party.
there?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Can you go, Leonard?
Mr. Brackett is
Can you bring up
filibustering
that
me.
clip there for me?
Mr.
Then
Wade,
we'll
Mr.
discuss
Gentlemen,
Wade,
that.
Mr.
gentlemen,
Brackett is filibustering me. All he's doing is talking and shouting over me. I
I am not the one.
answered
No,
the
you
answer
gentlemen,
to
you
Gregory
was
Brackett's
shouting
question.
over me.
She
I was
has
trying to answer
failed
the
to
points. You
perform.
had 4 points, and I was trying to answer them one by one. And I didn't get a chance to answer none of them correctly or effectively because at each of them you had a rebuttal.
But anyway, let's move on about
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
I not Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But a short rebuttal to these two gentlemen. The leader of the opposition has been sick, whether we like it or not.
Okay, let's
Her
move on.
clothing or what she wears has nothing to do
With
with her
performance.
performance. It's
Exactly.
where
Go.
she can take this country. And I will abstain from that critique. But
Okay.
I want to say this. In fact, I don't even want to say it. I will prove it tonight. But before I do that, I want to go to a tape to hear what the Prime Minister had to say on the redistricting.
Thank
Because
you.
here in Belizean affairs, we show and tell.
Yes, sir.
Let's hear the tape.
The CCJ ruling on the Jeremy Enriquez case in terms of the redistricting, is it a moot point because the government is already planning to proceed with that?
Well, I have not seen the report, but I think it's at this point. You're right. It's moot because we are already working on the redistricting, and I'm still pushing. I should have a meeting with Minister Musa on Monday to get an update as to how is it going, so that we can ensure that we can keep our timeline. That we hope that can be in place by the end of this year.
Mr. Chairman, before I give any
maybe.
answer to that, I want to go back to you first, sir, to get the input
Circus,
from these two gentlemen.
circus,
Hey, Mr.
circus.
Morrison, I go to you. I go to you first. I will.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Thank you very
will
much.
wait on
Thank you very much. I don't want Mr. Brackett to filibuster me
Man.
anymore.
Hey,
My
I'm not for
point
clarity. Did he say before the end of the year, guys? Wait.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, good. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, thank you. I mentioned the blue dress not to say that there's anything wrong with a blue dress, but I mention it because she chose a totally
Oh, man.
inappropriate time on George Price Day to walk into the George Price Center with a blue dress.
Uh,
UDP, she could have wore a white dress, she could have wear a green dress, she could have wear a brown dress, but
And
a
she still
blue
would have
dress.
been criticized. She
No,
still
she
would
wouldn't
have been
have.
criticized.
I wouldn't have criticized her for that. I wouldn't have criticized her for that.
Mr. Morrison,
But we all
Yes.
have an
on
opinion.
that tape
Come
there
on,
that
can we be
on that tape
respectful?
there that
Come on,
Greg
then, let
played.
Mr. Morrison
Yeah, Mr.
do his
Morrison,
thing.
you listen to that guy, and I would take it that you had listened to him previously in terms of where redistricting is concerned and what he had said that he's going to do and what he's
Yeah,
saying
no,
right now on that tape.
yeah. I understand where redistricting is and where it is and where the prime minister is with it. And I keep saying constantly about that, but I want to get back to the blue dress.
No, man.
The
All right. I'll give you
the
2 minutes then, Mr. Morrison.
okay, okay. And the blue dress,
I
Mr.
want to have
Brackett.
the
Mr. Wade.
earpiece and I have to hear. We have to respond.
No.
At
Because
the black
that to you. No, Mr. Morrison, it's up to you, right?
Go ahead.
Let Mr. Morrison, go ahead, 2 minutes.
Yes. Okay. the concern I have is that image matters. In politics, image matters. You would never see George Price wearing a red shirt, a red Wayabera,
You're
right?
not old enough. I am old enough to tell you that I have seen him done other things that you're not going to
Can
believe if
you
I tell
please
you.
not interrupt,
I
sir?
thank you. And so the imagery of that, what it transferred to people, was what was devastating. She is supposed to be a motivator for the people. We know every government, every single government gives the constituent leader of the, even when they're not a minister, a certain amount of money to support their constituents. It's always not as much as they give the party, whether it's PUP or UDP. If they're giving 20,000, they're going to give 15,000 to the opposition who's representing that area. That is the responsibility of government. Government has a responsibility to do that.
One more minute,
I
Mr.
see her
Morrison.
standing. I see her standing up and smiling at ribbon cutting and stuff like that. This lady does not know her role as leader of the opposition. Yes, you're supposed to support the government and policies of issues that concerns the country, but she's supposed to be a leader of the opposition representing a faction of the people that wishes to replace that government. And she's not acting like that. She's acting like she's in cahoots with this government to keep the opposition where they are. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I'll give 2 minutes there, Leonard.
I'll reply to Mr. Morrison, okay? Because, Mr. Morrison, all of us have our rights to have our own opinion, ideas, and conclusions. That's constitutionally imbued in us, and that's a God-given prerogative. So while I may rebut your perspective, okay, I have no right to try and deny you of stipulating those perspectives. But I believe that the same rights and opportunity I'm entitled to and or should be accorded to me. And that is to say, I, Leonard Brackett, do not see what you are seeing, nor interpret what you are interpreting the way you are interpreting it. So give me the benefit of the opportunity accorded to you and anyone else to have my perspective being at least aired or heard. And my perspective is that while there are other people in the party itself who don't care for that lady, I, as one of the founding members of that party and the person, the one and only person who instigated the creation of the UDP as an entity, I'm still alive today, yet, and I can tell you on my blood that I swore my allegiance to my country on, that that woman, having been denied of her first rights to have become the UDP leader instead of Mr. Shine, that most other people right now are lovey-dovey with, who's a malignant operator within the party itself. I put that lady, and I had stipulated that that woman should have been given the privilege to have become the leader of the party before Shine did. I recommended that before that convention. Okay, but it turned out how it turned out during the convention.
Thank you.
And we went along with Mr. Shine. We gave him the thing on a platter of gold, and he screwed it up royally.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you
But
on
no,
that.
a lot of people want to. They are not satisfied with the lady.
Yeah.
I am satisfied with her, and there are many others like myself who are satisfied with her, because
Thank
we
you.
need to move forward. We don't need to go backward or be held hostage by no bamboozlers.
Thank you, Leonard. Greg, you know, you have something there on the NHI, and I wanted before we go to play that tape from Mr. Fonseca with the free education to the Belizean people.
Mr. Chairman, before I proceed to that, based on the tape that I just played where the Prime Minister says he believes that the decision brought down by the CCJ is moot, is ludicrous.
The man is not a lawyer, no, he's inclined to follow.
And I will say that to say that this court is going to go back to the High Court. This case is going to go back to the High Court.
I'm with you, Greg.
And I will tell you what will happen. It is a political blunder, the Prime Minister is saying. He's in denial because when you start to do redistricting, the citizens are involved. You get up and you have meetings, town hall meetings. You show proof to what you are doing to move redistricting along. So I don't want no one to think from his word that he's doing the right thing. Because the end game of this administration is to have election again without redistricting. And you know what this decision does? It puts them in a bind so their former attorney cannot step into the court and say no one is trying to stop an election. Because of the ruling, the judge will have to demand they do that before any election. So make no mistake.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
where we are at
Thank you,
now.
Greg. And for clarity, right? Why I say that I've always said I don't believe anything that comes out of that man's mouth. Well, hear what that man says. We are already doing with districting. We are doing it. Right? So that's just a pitch. He's throwing a cast net to the Belizean. No worry. Election is coming in March, gentlemen. Right? But don't worry. Come out the election, because we did do it districting. We did do it. And that's how when in the fight find a court, we did do it. But come out, come vote. Right? Election will be held in March. And then you hear him saying before the end of the year. Well, what is anyway?
Mr. Chairman, I beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead,
but
Greg.
I want to continue. I asked what was the performance at the leader of the opposition. And I want to say this, right? The leader of the opposition, and I will say it as Mr. Morrison was saying, they say she's not fit to be there. I spoke many times on political narrative because what is happening to her, she's being blacklisted by the present government. I know that most Belizeans listen to the budget speech and to the national budget. But how many has listened to what these ministers are saying? I want to be specific to say the present government in the budget 26-27 that was presented is not trying to be transparent to the public. Instead, they are trying to use side distraction by attacking the leader of the opposition. And I can prove it right now. If I play 4 tapes, you will hear them going after the leader of the opposition. And I want to do that. Let's start with the Prime Minister.
I guess she had to find something to say, and she spoke for over 2 hours. And I'm going to be kind that she's doing as best as she can as the leader of the opposition to try to come up with some kind of rebuttal. But even people from within her own party have not been satisfied.
Stop that one. Let's go to the next tape.
And it's now 12:05 p.m. the lunch hour, so I get really hungry. And when I get hungry, Mr. Speaker, I have a confession for make. Because, no, I'm not going out too bad. But when I get hungry, I like Ali Johnson. The one of my favorite restaurants, mind you, when the man me run against me, my family forbid that I eat from Johnson. So for 2 years, I struggled without Johnson. But now I could eat it again. But Having heard the presentations over the last 3 days, Mr. Speaker, I think we might have to add some stuff to the menu, because one of the favorite things for me is the chicken burger. But when I listen to the leader of the opposition on the first day, again I must be hungry, because the first thing I think...
Stop the tape here. Let's go to the next one.
This negativity seems to be endemic in the opposition, and that is why they remain divided. Members of our own party criticize the leader of the opposition's 2-hour rebuttal, calling it baseless and lacking in substance.
Stop it there. Let's go to the next one.
I listened very carefully to the leader of the opposition, her presentation. It was long. I mean, that's really the only memorable thing about it.
Political blunder. The present government attacking the leader of the opposition through narrative with no meat to tell the Belizean people.
Well, they had burger,
transparency to the presented budget. Because you know what? The honest truth is the budget is overbloated, and they will come with supplementary after supplementary to make up for it.
Usually
and I can go further. I want you to listen how they tell on themselves.
In constituencies we serve, we see an inordinate amount of our people grappling with health issues and the high cost of health care. It's one of the greatest and costliest realities our people face daily. How did we get here? It never used to be like this. That's why we have to spend so much on health. But we have to make sure that we spend it wisely. I mean, Minister of Health, how much is KHMH collecting from patients annually? $2 million? Maybe $2.5 million? Max. Man, why don't we pay that as a government and make KHMH free while we continue to expand NHI and continue to make...
There you go again. If you intend to do that, why don't be transparent and tell the Belizean people what happened to the hospitals you're supposed to build? Why would you want to turn KHMH now into a public hospital? Because what you will do is take away funding from all these projects you claim about helping health with hospitals and put them into KHMH. And I want to say this that the Belizean people do not know. I mentioned it many times. Under the present government, whenever they get into power, it's nationalization and everything becomes private public, because that is what this NHI is. Private public, it will be run identical to Social Security, and workers will have to pay from their wages, etc. I go back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead, Leonard. 2 minutes, Leonard. 2 minutes.
Yeah. The government, instead of wasting their time targeting the leader of the opposition, why don't they target themselves in terms of doing their jobs? For example, the $400 million that they gave to Mr. Ashcroft, how much of that they could have put towards the $2 million that they're claiming that they should give to KHMH? How much better off KHMH could have done with 5 million, 10 million, or 20 million out of that 400, almost 500 million that they gave that man? Just because the man threatened to sue them. Plus, they were paying off some of their own loans that they got from the man through we Treasury under the guise of all outstanding accounts. You got to remember that when the Prime Minister got up in the House.
Sure does. Sure does.
He was getting a deal. He had an outstanding loan that they had taken out against the port for between $38 million and $40 million, and he got a deal by paying $400 million for it. I don't hear nobody having a beef with the man about that. The man they complain that the leader of the opposition not got nothing much to say or not contributing effectively. Read the lady's presentation since I fall asleep while she was presenting it. Read it so they could learn about how good governance, not only just governance, good governance could benefit the people of Belize as a country. But they're not interested in that. It's a clown show that they're interested in. They got the powers, and then clown whoever else coming.
One more minute on your closing there, Leonard, because we're pretty much give you another minute for closing.
Until whoever come into their affairs, get out of my affairs, because I don't need to deal with you. I have the powers. They have the powers because they con the people, and they con the judiciary, and they con all the different sectors of our country's affairs into complying with making them run one roughshod over with for the last general election, to the point where part of the problems that the opposition was having was contrived by the very same POP as an endeavor. Okay? Then they blame and say, well, the woman was a PUP before, that's why the PUP is doing us what the PUP is doing us. The PUP has always been doing us what they keep doing. The fact that the woman was a PUP before doesn't mean that she is now a current PUP. No, is she espousing any policies that is PUP policies? She is grateful for the help that the Prime Minister gave her some help in her division, and all she's doing is expressing some gratitude for that. What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with political undertakings or expressing any sense of gratitude, because at the end of the year, they're not the Prime Minister money. It's the public treasury. They're not none of the ministers where they give out the house or give out the education grants or give out, whatever grants. It is the public funds. And like you said, Mr. Wade, the opposition is always giving less than what they give to the government ministers or the government officials then. And that has always been the case. What's wrong with that? Why is that?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morrison. We are just about time, but I give you 3 minutes for your closing there, Mr. Morrison.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't want it to seem that I am attacking this wonderful lady, leader of the opposition. I think she's an honorable and a decent person. I admire her in many ways for being the first woman to lead an opposition party and next stand in line to be Prime Minister of this country, if so be it. I just don't see that happening under her leadership. That's my concern. I see her as weak and ineffective. And I believe that she ponders too much and doesn't know the role of steadfastness and how to motivate and drive the United Democratic Party into the next election, where they could all stand clear, knowing their colors, knowing their role, knowing their position that they must take in how they must govern this country. So for that reason, I believe that she's not effective as such. I'm hoping that she will grow into her role. I'm hoping that this is a new role for her and that she'll find out what it takes to motivate the color red. I am hoping, and that's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Greg, I go to you, then I'll do the closing, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say this. There's a saying that says, when you don't have good to say, don't say anything at all, and it works out better for you. When I look at what is happening in the budget speech, I look at Iran, and I look at the UN Assembly and what they have done. They are criticizing Iran for starting the war when Iran did not attack nobody. But what Iran has proven, not through what they are saying, But from its silence, we have been silent, but we are prepared to deal with you. And that is the way I look at Miss Mantan. The big superpower put in us all that it has. And now they are begging, begging, because you know why? They went overboard and they thought they can continue to do what they're doing. I look at this present administration, and that is the same belief they have. Political narratives undermining people, talking about free education, talking about giving away land and then giving land, you have equity. They talk all these crap, but one thing they are not speaking about is the role that they are not playing externally or internally. We should not have to be looking at a 2026-27 budget of this caliber because it starts with government, and until government can play its role and get with private sector and create jobs, we will continue down this road because what they are doing is a repeat every year of the same method, handout, not trying to win the people off of handout and turn around, and this is how they win election through a designer system designed to keep the people in poverty that they must come to them. A prime example is the lands they give out. They issue it as though it belongs to them. They go, they get title and have these meetings to present it when the land in this country belongs to the people and everybody should go to the land department to ask for a piece of land, not even ask, put in their farm, and it should be done legally that way. But everything in this country is politicized, and this is why we are where we are. I go back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
One
Thank
minute,
you,
Mr.
Greg.
Chairman.
Go ahead,
1 minute.
Leonard.
1 minute. I'm going to explain now, hopefully, what is not being understood, and that is that there is a reason why the government is attacking the leader of the opposition the way they did, as all the tapes that you played, Mr. Brackett, and those that you haven't played, but that has occurred during the course of this particular debate, because the woman had a good presentation, and they, the PUP, have found themselves in a bad situation when it comes to the management affairs of the country recently. And they're trying to target her with the idea of trying to keep, as a matter of fact, they say in their own words that the Prime Minister himself no less than said that other members in her party are against her. They know that. They engineered part of that process, as I said earlier. But the bottom line is that nobody never complained when Shine gone and big up the PM. Nobody never complained when Shine gone and while he was the leader of the opposition, dishonor the opposition's position in terms of paying homage and respect to the Taiwanese and the Japanese and the Koreans them for backstopping, not stabbing, backstopping our national budget by hundreds of millions of dollars over all these many decades. That's a major failure of his. Not besides trying to destroy the party, because the people in the party decided they didn't want to have him continue to lead the party anymore. He figured, well, he had put some money in the party, therefore he owns it, as if anybody had given him a damn seat. But the last part, the idea of all the people I'm in the PUP right now talking so bad about Miss Panton and wanting and discrediting her is because they don't want to see the UDP rise to any position that will threaten them as a mass party. They want to keep the UDP divided and under their foot. And that's why some of them said to her when she was making her presentation, they're glad that she is in the opposition and she needs to stay there in the opposition. That's what they were referring to.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard. It's always a pleasure sitting with you guys. Greg, thanks for queuing up.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
have
yes.
an excuse,
Yes.
but I need to say this. I want to say this to the people at home and abroad. If the present government believes they are running this country and putting it in the right direction, I want to ask them, how come they cannot run it the way Holy Redeemer is running his credit union? Because people are better off putting their money in Holy Redeemer credit union. They will get interest, they will get that benefit that they are not getting from Social Security.
The PM is mad because he never get the
I go
$18
back to
million.
you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, guys. We went over, Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, take it out.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not going to take it now.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Morrison. Go ahead.
I'm not going to take my 3 minutes now, 2 minutes that Mr. Brackett took. And
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Morrison.
No, next time I'll get it. Next time I'll get it. Get it.
Go ahead, man.
Take a 3 minutes, Mr. Morrison. That's what we do here. We have healthy debate. Hey.
There's
Go
another
ahead,
5
Mr.
minutes.
Morrison. You can go to
Yeah.
the
Okay. I agree with you that the Holy Redeemer Credit Union, I have some money there. They are very worthwhile institution, and they seem to do a good job of protecting my money. Not all the credit unions in Belize have been successful. Many of them have come up with scheme and thievery that has disgraced the credit union movement in many ways. But Holy Redeemer so far has remained strong. It seems like whatever lining Miss Jane had put there had steadfast to this point, and so I'm glad for that. I'm very glad for that.
money.
But I want to say,
let Mr. Morrison finish.
I meant no disrespect to the current leader of the opposition. I think she's a wonderful person, as I said. I just wish that she'll grow into the role of the leadership and of the role of position, and that's important. And I'm hoping I have no problem with her speech either. I think her speech was wonderful and well delivered. And yeah, it was a little long, but I don't have any problem with that. Let the other guy have a problem with that. I have a problem with the role and the manner in which she's functioning and moving about and motivating the opposition party so that they can in fact move into victory. And if you're doing things that seems intentional or accidental or careless or not knowing enough, that result in these type of blowbacks that is become so glaring that it says, how will you lead a country if you're making these big step mistakes? That's what concerns me in her current role. And I know Mr. Brackett is
where's the essence of the blowback?
Hold on.
The blowback. Where's the blowback?
You had your turn, Leonard. Go ahead, Mr. Morrison. One more minute there, Mr. Morrison.
Yeah. So I'm glad that she's getting the feedback from us that will help her develop and help her march in the role and responsibility of leader of the opposition. Red. That's the role.
Thank you.
Mr. Morrison.
Go ahead, Greg.
Mr. Morrison, who thief would not? That is what they are afraid of because they know
the ghost,
they have to win
the
because
ghost.
the hammer will come down.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
the
sir.
question is this.
Anyway, guys.
Alright.
Hey, Leonard. Hey, Greg and Leonard. Went over Mr. Morrison. We went over our time.
Now, how
It
much?
was
30
it was
minutes.
a
How much?
healthy yeah. But
Uh,
they say we got to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yes,
no
exactly.
But
problem.
anyway, for the listening public out there, that's what we do here in Belizean Affairs. Everyone has their own, ability to think for their own and speak their own and the way they feel. That's their God-given rights. You cannot, tell Rudy Wade not to say this, not to say that, and how. No, 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 no. You can't direct how I speak and how I should speak. Same thing with Leonard, same thing with Greg, and same thing with Mr. Morrison. We all have our own opinion, and we should respect and we here on Belizean Affairs we respect each and every one opinion and input. Thank you again, Mr. Morrison, for your input. Leonard, thank you, my brother. It's always a
Welcome,
pleasure.
sir.
Greg, it's always a pleasure to sit with you and show and tell. They can't say, well, Mr. Wade, they talk round fool, Mr. Morrison, they talk round fool. That man never said that. The man never said that. But thanks to Greg, he showed the man.
Nice program, Mr. Chairman.
But I enjoyed, the company, and I just hope that Leonard and guys, I just hope that the people who watch our program, enjoy our, the way we interact and the things we put forward, the plate of rice and beans we bring for them, right? We don't short them in anything. They get the rice and beans, they get the stew chicken, the plantain, and the salad, and a little thing of Kool-Aid too. So we don't short them.
We not give out the beer, but at least once in a while we give out one Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah. So Greg, thanks. You see that same clip you pay a little bit of that on the and I close with this for the debate. For me, it's just electioneering, right? These people, it's election. They are in election mode, right? Nothing for the Belizean people, nothing for the masses out there. It's just about for their UDP and PUP politicking, right? To see who will garnish the poll and who they could discredit and who nothing of substance in there, right? Because everything that they mention in there is all things that you have heard on the last budget, right? So these people are a bunch of I will not say the word, but it's sad to see how they behave, right? And sadly for me, they have no shame. These guys have no shame in lying to the Belizean people, right? Repetitiously, both the UDP and the PUP. And as far as the way I feel about the opposition, for me, I think how I've been feeling and over the past 20 years, how I see the action of this two-party system, I would like to see them scooped up in one of these graders with this big scoop and take them in the middle of the deep blue sea and dump them, right? That's what I would like to see done. And what this country needs is a different entity from the People's United Party and the PUP. We need a strong third party, which I haven't seen yet, but maybe it will come at some point, and I hope I see it before I die, right? That there will be no more PUP and UDP in the country of Belize because of the things, the crimes and atrocities and bad things that they have done to the poor people of Belize and the nation, right? What things that I have seen, not somebody come and tell me, and no, things that I have seen, been looking at it, that they have done, right? And for what? For greed and power. Greed and power to service their own little group, family, and friends. And seems that the dynasty of the People's United Party don't want to go away. I see them bringing some little people from. I am not a fan of none of them. Me, I told you what I would like to see happen to them, right? That's just me, right? But like I say, as I speak right now, the People's United Party is recruiting their daughter, their son, that dynasty group to take over when those that are standing in the house no more. But that name, that dynasty, they're already recruit. They don't want to get rid of that. They want to stay in control, whether it's with their grandson, the grandson's son, or something, right? But what I would like to see before I die is to see them no more.
Mr. Chairman, they need to speed up the recruitment process because a lot of them will end up going abroad and can't get back home.
That's how I feel, guys. And like I said before, we're all entitled to our own. Right. So thank you again, Mr. Morrison. Thank you for bracing us tonight. Again, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Nice program,
Greg,
gentlemen. Thank you very much.
and
Thank you.
Another one for the
away
record.
there, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to end this, I want to say, Mr. Chairman, it starts with our democratic system, which is our electors. Stay away from the handout and the $50 or $100, because at the rate we are going, I would like to see, if we can't get away from red or blue, a one-term government until they can do things right. With that, I want to say good night to you, the people at home and abroad,
Thank
and
you.
good night to you, gentlemen.
Good
Thank
night.
you too.